What's going on in your neck of the woods? I love
Oh,
that, dude.
what's
Psychedelic, man.
what's happening, man? Well, yeah, my name's Darius Garland, and on one of my Instagram handles is mrwideawake. That's the one Troy is the most fond of. But what's going on? I'm just loving life, man, and doing the deal. I'm over here in on the border of Venice and Marina Del Rey, just loving the LA life, trying to stay sane, healthy, aware, and plugged in with consciousness. That is the name of the game for me.
And well, what does that mean? Hey, people say, hey, I'm conscious.
Oh
I'm
man,
awake.
what for me that means is just sticking close to the truth and thinking for myself and asking a lot of questions. I question everything, and it's not like I don't question everybody. I question everything. So a lot of the things that we are fed, and lack for better terms, are probably programmed with since childhood, in my opinion, in my experience, have been turning out not to be true. So there's just a lot of misconceptions. If you want to go esoteric, even who we are, but just to bring it down to this level, right now there's a lot of unrest. There's a lot of negative energy. At the same time, a lot of good energy swirling around us. And I'm just looking at the things that make the most sense. And I always ask, and this isn't to slam any type of movement or any organization that anyone's involved in if they believe it's for the betterment of people. But like a prime example, I was on the phone earlier and I asked the question, so why is Black Lives Matter only a thing in election years? You know what I mean? Why is it that, why that the black on black crimes that takes place in inner cities across the country, why is that ever a news story? Like, I'm from the south side of Chicago, and if I'm not mistaken, Chicago experienced one of the most murderous days in the history of the United States of America. You know what I mean? And that's like a back page. Chirac, right? I'm not fond of that moniker, but it's that's never been the news. That's just the status quo, right? So when
where they get the guns that are on the streets down there that those children have. Man,
people sell guns like they sell crack or pot or anything else. If you want my idea where the guns come from, in the states that surround Illinois, Kentucky, probably for the most part, Indiana, Wisconsin have very, very liberal gun laws where anyone can walk into a gun show, and purchase a cache of weapons and then flip those on the street. So there's now if you want to look at it from a bigger picture, Chicago is a hub for the Mexican cartels to bring narcotics and firearms and people, into the Midwest.
Really?
Yeah,
really?
Because
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Chicago is a cartel hub because it spider webs into Wisconsin, Minnesota. You can easily take the Interstate 94 and go east. Interstate 80, you can go east or you can go west. So it's always been a hot spot in the hub for a tremendous amount of drug and gun activity. Mm. But going back to what it means to be.
Hey, just give us some small statistics on the old murder rate down there in Chirac.
Oh wow!
Just for some basic knowledge, so people can get a little bit of a context.
Basic knowledge on an average, and this you can search this on DuckDuckGo, and you can try to find some real stats on Google. But on average, there's probably 5 deaths every weekend. At least 24 people are shot. And for the most part, these are male on male, black on black, Latino on Latino, Latino on black, and vice versa crimes, right? So there's always been a tremendous amount of murder in Chicago, Illinois. One of the things that incited all of this is maybe close to a decade ago, they incarcerated all the gang leaders and drug kingpins thinking that will solve the problem. But that was just really decapitating the monster, right? And letting everyone else run wild. So there was no real leadership. The game has always been about, getting money, and you can't make money if there's a lot of death. But when you have no lack of leadership, it's just gone south, And if you look at it more closely, you know, a lot of this comes from the males not being in the homes. You know, there's a lot of kids out here that are misdirected, undirected, and just going sideways, you know, with their thoughts. It's violence seems to be the answer, you know, and the kids are getting killed and killing each other over stupid stuff about who said what. You know, did you talk to my girl? You made fun of my sneakers. You know, our human lives are very, 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 very precious. You know, we are very special.
They're precious and fragile too.
And fragile, right. And we have,
but
you know,
hey,
we have.
can we? You said something very interesting about interstate gun running. Did you say the border of Kentucky? What's the border down there?
Kentucky.
I can't hear you.
Indiana, Wisconsin. You got me? The borders are Iowa and then South Tennessee. You there, Troy?
Yeah, but you got a weird program on you.
Whoa, let's take that weird program off. Yeah, I fat fingered that. Thank you for saying something.
So it's a corridor. You said MS-13 gangs, drug running, human trafficking. You're saying all that's.
I'm saying that the drug cartels that come out of Mexico use Chicago, Illinois as a hub to traffic narcotics, weapons, people. I can't say if it's MS-13 or not, you know, but I do know that it's always been a corridor and a hub for drug activity. Now, I think I know where you're going with this is, well, why is there such a big stink about the border south of us, right? And it's not about, you know, if that's where you're going, it's not about keeping people out. It's about keeping criminals out. It's about keeping the drugs out. It's about keeping the weapons out. It's about keeping or killing the idea of human trafficking or the practice of human trafficking. You know what I mean? That's what that's all about. You know what I mean? I don't know how political you want to go into the rabbit hole, but you know,
well,
that's
look,
what
you can talk about whatever you want. This is a platform. I'm not trying to direct this conversation at all. I just find it interesting because most people look at whatever they're presented onto the news. They don't understand interstate commerce, interstate travel, a hub like that, you know, trade, you know, black markets, you know, they don't understand. But what I asked originally was, hey, where are these guns coming from? Because all these children in Chicago are killing them. And so you're saying
right.
They also don't have fathers in the house. I mean, this is making a lot of sense. But again, you know, you take the conversation away. My ultimate question to anybody who comes on this platform is, what are our solutions moving forward? Hey, we're men. We're leaders. What's the solution moving forward?
The solution is, I believe, and that question can go in several different ways, but I think the first solution is just be a free thinker. You know, turn off the CNN and the MSNBC, the Fox News. You know what I mean? Don't go to you know, Facebook or Google for your source. It's really being able to ask those hard questions. Why? You know what I mean? And it's a question I asked earlier. It's like, why is there homelessness in the United States of America? Where do my hard-earned tax dollars really go, right? You know, where does all this money go? Why is there no indoor plumbing in a lot of places in this world? You know, it absolutely makes zero sense, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that most Americans are so distracted by the sensationalism of the news cycle, and you know, getting caught up in these conversations that are meant to distract, you know what I mean, to avoid what's really going on. You know, and I believe that's been the case for decades, if not millennia, right? So my solution is look for the truth, ask questions, and it all starts in the home. You know, if you're a parent, you know, spend time with your children, love them unconditionally. Kids don't need a lot, right? Kids don't need of course you want to give them basic necessities, but one thing a child needs to know more than anything is that they are loved, right? That is it. If a child knows that you love them, they're going to be cool, period. End of conversation, right? But see, a lot of children don't have that experience at all. I grew up in a household where my father was in and out, back and forth. He bobbed and weaved, and he had his own issues and his own problems what kept him away from being a parent. But I look at my experiences in lieu of that and say, I can never treat another child that way. You know what I mean? I could never not just give care or attention. And I guess a perfect example is, my parents did not show up to the football games and the baseball games. You know what I mean? It was like they weren't at the school play. I was always that kid that just did not have any type of representation. So what does that do? That makes me feel less than, like an outsider, like I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. So when any human being takes those feelings of unworthiness where their self-esteem is damaged, they have a tendency to act out, and that can manifest itself in violence. It can manifest itself in drugs. And on a positive side, it can manifest itself in excelling in a sport or something creative. But those are probably cases that are 2 out of 100, if not 1,000, especially in the inner cities. So it goes back to letting go of all of the bullshit and just be there and show up. I've experienced and been around a lot of Black men that have been phenomenal parents to their children. And I know a lot of others that they're just kids. They'll figure it out. I just believe that's just the wrong way to go, especially, when it results in chaos, in a lot of situations, pure chaos. And that chaos isn't what's spilling out into the streets. It's that chaotic time bomb that's ticking into somebody that just doesn't know what it's like to be hugged or have anyone say, I love you, or I have your back, or I'll be there. Those are those little tiny things that go miles, right? Imagine if all of us, right, in LA County put down our BLM and racist and whatever's going on in the news right now and dropped all those flags and just focused on just loving another human being unconditionally, what would that look like? You know what I mean? What would that be like? Let's let go of all the nonsense and the chatter and just say, I love you. You know what I'm talking about? Where's it?
I mean, and just look in the mirror. I mean, that's a message to all of us. They start there.
Right.
How about loving yourself unconditionally? That's why I wrote the book.
That's right.
That's why, exactly. Hey, did you get one, bro?
No, I got a call. I need to get in touch with your assistant and get that taken care of.
I got a shirt and a book for you.
All right.
Come over and get it.
I will do that. I can do that later today.
Yeah, I'm leaving tomorrow. So
okay. Yeah, I'll get with you a little bit after this. But man, yeah, that's where I'm coming from with all this stuff, Troy. It's like since I moved to LA 3.5 years ago, and I remember when I met you and the guys in the what used to be Man Tribe, now Man Clan. And I was like, these dudes are onto something, right? Because we were connecting as men. And that's something that I was familiar with, but it was taken to a whole different level. I had a lot of history in 12-step programs I learned how to say I love you to another man, but we didn't always talk about what's really, really going on. You know what I mean? What is it to be a parent, to be a partner? How do we care for ourselves from the inside out? And what I saw in you and everyone around you was for real. You know what I mean? It's like we were dropping real stuff with each other and giving ourselves the opportunity, in a lot of cases, to heal, right? I think one conversation that men avoid is the fact that we may or may not be carrying some baggage that needs to heal to make us a better person, to be available to whomever, whenever, however. Right? That's just too much macho. Like I have, I don't, feelings are something you're not supposed to talk about. And my own experience is like, yeah, I didn't talk about my feelings with my friends. You know what I mean? Sometimes we would be riding around in the SUV, listening to music, smoking pot, driving in circles, and then we would disagree with each other. And there was this one guy named Billy, Wild Bill, would say, why don't we pull that radio out the dash and just talk, right? And we would turn the sounds off and just talk about what bothered us about each other. Like, you did this or you did that. But the truth of the matter is that made us a lot closer. It brought us a lot closer, and it healed. You know what I mean? Because there was no confusion about where we stood with each other, you know? And so what the man tribe brings to the table is, okay, let's just talk about it. Don't be afraid. Because what I know and understand is I've seen some things, I've experienced some things, and we all have a lot in common, man. You know what I mean? When you pull the curtain back, it's like, oh, that happened to you too. You know, I didn't know that. You know, my parents used to kick my ass. Damn. And then that starts the healing, because it's no feeling like the feeling of knowing that you are not alone. You follow me? There's nothing like that on the planet.
I mean, you brought up a couple of really good points, because earlier you were talking about physical strokes and psychological strokes. You know, that's basic psychology. You don't touch a baby out of the womb, the baby will die. And so physical and emotional strokes are very real in that connection. Like you said, if everybody just, you know, loved first of all themselves, and then gave a little bit of that out to someone else, or just emanated that out. I think that, you know, that is, you know, the major, because that's all what we desire. Most people are just reacting to their unmet needs in that in that perspective.
Absolutely. And we can take that bullshit to our graves. You know what I mean? There's men walking around in their 70s that still have 5 girlfriends and think that shit's cool, you know, and never given themselves or even had the awareness to know what it is to be monogamous or to, you know, share a relationship. I have a lot of experience in that in my past. You know what I mean? And one of the biggest cycles I had to break was learning how to be by myself, right? So I can heal, and I can be available to be with someone else, right? And it's I've seen this with my own eyes, is that we as men, sometimes we thwart ourselves, we miss the boat, and a lot of opportunities to grow. And what I'm about, and I know what you are about, is healing that and giving people platforms and ways and means to do that. You know, and I mentor a lot of young men. I coach people, and it's not to meet a specific goal. My practice comes from a point of view. It's just, this is an inside job, right? You know, and I was talking to this young man the other day that had some plastic or something in his burrito and went crazy at the burrito spot, you know? And I was like, well, look, they made a mistake. You got a burrito with some plastic in it, but you didn't have to go in there throwing the shit at them, talking about you're going to sue them. You could, you know what I mean? And I said, well, what happened, what done is done. But what was it that triggered you in that moment? And he said, I felt like they did it on purpose, right? And so, like, all right, so where does that come from, right? And I don't want to belabor this young man's history, but it all came back from his dad, you know, wanting his child to be perfect and demanding perfection, and anything that's slightly off is looked at as negative. So he takes that and walks out into this world with that same attitude about everyone that's around him, you know? And it's so, this whole thing is healing from the inside, knowing who we are, and kind of knowing where we want to go, because we can do anything that we want. You know what I mean? I don't believe in this thing where we're predisposed to fail, or you come from an inner city I think that's all a bunch of bullshit. That's the program that the media subconsciously tells us. That's the message we see in movies. You know, that's what we see in TV shows. You know, it tells a great coming of age story and some certain points of view. But the real message is, well, you don't have shit, and you're not ever going to be shit, and you need to be very unique or lucky. That's crap. You know, it's like I've done drugs. I've sold drugs. I was a blackout drunk and smoked crack cocaine and wasted a lot of years of my life. I don't remember the decade of the 90s, right? No recollection. You know what I mean? Because I was drunk most of the time. So I decided, when I saw everybody around me, like buying houses and having babies and taking trips and doing cool shit, I couldn't understand why not me. you know? And so when it dawned on me that it was these addictions and all this baggage I was carrying, when I got past that, the world started to open up, you know what I mean? And then the blessings just come. That's a segue into energy. You know, everything is made of energy. We're all energy. Everything is energy. So if I'm carrying around energy that is vibrating at a very low frequency that doesn't serve me or serve anybody around me, how can anything experience or something I'd like to manifest that's vibrating at a higher frequency? That could be a relationship. That could be that new shiny car. It can be a great career, a great job. That cannot happen when I'm in the low negative energy. So clearing that energy, getting past addiction, getting past low self-esteem, getting past the idea or thought that I'm not enough. Once that energy is cleared, the sky is limitless. You know, I believe that we are all equal as human beings on this planet Earth, that we were created to create. We were created to have our own utopia and a life that is paradise. And that's been kind of circumvented and hijacked for most of us, you know what I mean, billions of people. But that doesn't mean that we cannot persevere, right? It does not mean we can take what we've learned in our experiences and pass it on to bring somebody else along. You know, one thing in the Black community that really sucks is like a lot of people make it, but don't ever look over their shoulder or go back home and fill up the boat. You know what I mean? And it doesn't mean I'm gonna give you a ton of cash and move you out to LA and set you up. That means I'm going to take my experience of how I overcame these things and show you how to do the same thing, you know. And I dare anybody to challenge me on that shit. Black people don't do it, you know. And I can say to a certain degree that in some cases I'm guilty of it, right? It's this take it and I'm not going back. I'm from the south side of Chicago, and the media will never show you the destruction and the chaos that's taken place in the last week or so. There are blocked. Every business for miles has been decimated. You'll never see that on the news because it contradicts the narrative of of peaceful protesting, right? And I used to say, well, fuck, thank God I don't live there anymore. I'm not ever going back there. But I don't look at it that way. Look, I'm taking a trip there in 2 weeks, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go help clean up something. If I can sweep up some glass, if I could do anything to help repair the damage, I'm going to make myself available to do that, you know? And as I grow and learn and I'm continually blessed, and when I can afford to start a foundation and start a movement, I will do that, because everyone deserves a shot to be the best and the greatest that they can be.
Okay, that was amazing. Okay, so your handle is Mr. Wide Awake.
Yeah.
How many years, like what's your process been of awakening? And what are give me a couple of milestones that really made you go, oh shit, yeah, that doesn't sound right.
My first experience with waking up was I went to a Dr. Joe Dispenza advanced workshop in Mexico. And I spent a week meditating and connecting with consciousness, right? And clearing energy and learning how to collapse time, meaning that if I can stay in the present moment, what's happened in the past doesn't exist, it doesn't matter, right? And I can create any future I want. I was there with all types of healers, and there were shamans, and they were just really gifted, interesting people. And what woke me up is when I learned that I could heal myself from an autoimmune diagnosis, because I was about to go and do a stem cell transplant with chemotherapy and been on medication for a year or two. But when I saw people that were really sick, like for real, you know, stage 4 cancer, that were using energy and meditation and dissolving tumors, I said to myself, oh shit, I am blessed, first of all, that I don't have a challenge like that, but I can do this. And that just woke me up to the capabilities of me as a human being. What further got my attention is I started looking at pharmaceuticals and medicine, and I learned that everyone that's diagnosed with cancer, the pharmaceutical company makes roughly $1.3 million off of every cancer diagnosis, right? So cancer which is an autoimmune, quote unquote, disease. It's an imbalance in the energy of the body, precipitated by stress, which can cause a growth or a tumor, right? That's a big business in the United States of America, man, a massive business in the United States of America. So I was like, wait a minute. So these companies make all this money off of diagnosis. The doctors are kind of coached and pushed in a direction to prescribe these treatments and these drugs. And then they get like a kickback, and the farm company makes all this money. Then I was like, well, who the fuck is in control of all this? How is this even possible? Oh, it's the FDA. You know what I mean? So then I started researching these three-letter organizations, the IRS, the FDA, the CIA. Then I learned that most of these came to existence illegally outside of the Constitution, right? Of the United States of America. So then I'm like, okay, wait a minute. And then so I was not a fan of Donald Trump at all. I used to make a lot of memes that were anti-Trump and t-shirts and stuff. But he said something that was profound that caught my attention. And they were chattering about this at the Joe Dispenza thing, is that, you know, this person is been chosen to kind of to abolish, get rid of, move us away from these three-letter agencies in the government, and to free us all of the tyranny of debt, et cetera, et cetera. And I was like, that shit sounds crazy. But after I started doing research and digging, and it's not about him. It's just about it's about not the similarities, but the major difference is that this is a person that's at that time had only been in government for 2 years and has accomplished some things and has a plan to do some things that have never been spoken of, right? And then I took that and started just researching, and I was like, I learned that most of our experiences of humans have been falsified, you know, if I can say that. They're not really real. That you know, how we're programmed with media and what we're taught by our parents and taught by their parents and their parents and their parents is really bullshit. And it was like the math that we learn isn't really right. The science we're taught was all a bunch of nonsense. You know, this idea that we're the only planet and we're the only things that live in this entire universe is absolutely asinine, you know? But these are things that we all were educated on and believed. So my awakening, when I said Mr. Wide Awake, it was like I've been kind of shocked with the reality of not only who I am as a human being, like where I come from, right? And how special and unique not only myself, but others are, that we have capabilities beyond our wildest dreams. But it's kind of like we have... it's like if you have a glass, right? Like my patio door right here, and if I paint it black or I put white paint on it, I can't see through it, right? So there's this veil. And so I've kind of learned how to start scraping this paint off, and I can see what's real and what's not, you know, that this veil is being removed. I believe a lot of the things that we're experiencing now with these riots, with this pandemic nonsense, I'll pause and say, whenever in the history of this planet that anybody knows that they quarantined healthy people, stay in your house and don't, that shit is absolutely crazy, right? It defies common sense and logic. Viruses can't live above 78 degrees Fahrenheit. You can fact check me on that. I think it's like going to be 86 degrees in LA, you know, maybe 80 right around the ocean. So a virus can't survive in UV light of the sun, but yet and still these people tell us to wear a mask and stand 6 feet apart at the fucking beach. It makes in the sunshine. It's just fucking bananas, right? So not to go on that tangent, but a lot of these things that we're experiencing, pandemic, then race riots that are happening back to back, I'm just like, what is really going on here? You know what I mean? What the hell is really doesn't make any sense. And as far as being awake, I just see past what is presented to me as being real and presented to everyone else as being real. You know, if we take a minute and say time out and just ask the question and sit still with it for a minute, Our higher self, that voice we hear, our intuition, our consciousness will tell us the truth every time, right? And mine tells me that a lot of this is a bunch of bullshit, and to, stay away. It keeps me, it's psychologically damaging to sit in a home for 2.5 months and say you can't go anywhere, to stand in lines to go get basic necessities, to wear a mask where I'm depleting the amount of oxygen that goes to my brain and to my body, to my organs, right? It doesn't make any sense for just out of nowhere, right? And of course there was a tragedy and someone lost their life, but out of nowhere across the entire country, there's race riots that are similar to the LA riots of the early 90s. This all just popped up and happened everywhere, almost simultaneously. You know what I mean? So it's like, I beg to say, is like, come on. There's some things are coincidental, but you just can't look at it as a lot of the events of the year 2020 as a coincidence. And I say all that to say is this is a part of what I understand and believe is a great awakening, where we're all going to start waking up. We're all going to start understanding what the truth is about a lot of things, a lot of people, a lot of situations, and I knew this was happening, and I just didn't know how it was going to play out. So it's kind of like this is a big ass boil or pimple that's getting ready to pop, and it's happening right now. On the back end of this calendar year, I believe us is not only Americans. America will be the equivalent to Atlantis, where we're going to be in a place unlimited and abundant technology, where health resources for health and longevity will be revealed to us. The secrets about how we heal ourselves will be revealed to us. The earth gives us everything that we need. It grows in the ground. You know what I'm talking about? But they're not going to tell us that. We have to figure that out on our own. Bob Marley was talking about this in the 70s. The Gaia gives us everything.
Potatoes grow potatoes.
To go on a heal. That's right. I've managed to go on this healing journey where I don't take any Western medicine.
You're breaking up, Darius. You're breaking up a little bit.
And I do this through, and I'm lazy about it. And I'm not being hard on myself. I'm just saying the truth out loud. You with me?
Yeah, you're breaking up a little bit, but let's open it up for some questions, man. You said a lot, man. Whew. When was that Joe Dispenza event you went to? When was the Joe Dispenza event you went to?
All right, there we go. It's
you got it?
I was saying that meditation, breathing, qigong, opening.
Bro, but you're still breaking up. Can anybody hear and see me? Can anybody hear me?
All right.
Yeah, you're breaking up.
I can hear you, Troy.
You got it? Okay, good. I can hear you.
Are we back?
Yeah.
Are we back?
We're back.
Awesome. Joe Dispenza was December 2018. I went to that event.
So you're
in Cancun, Mexico.
A big part of your awakening has just been in the last 2 years?
Everything I talked about is, in my experience of awakening, has been in the last 24 months. 27, 28 months, yeah.
Yeah, because your tissues were very stiff when I met you. And I must have met you.
Yeah.
I must have met you right back then.
That was about, we met each other in January of 2019 at Santa Monica at the First Man Tribe.
Okay.
So that was just about 18 months ago.
Okay.
And yeah, I've loosened up a lot.
Dude, your tissues were stiff, bro.
Oh yeah.
And so that was getting off all the medical drugs. You detoxed off all of that.
I wasn't on any medical drugs at all. The buildup of collagen and the diagnosis that I was told. I don't claim any type of disease. I don't name it, but the doctor said you're diagnosed with this thing called scleroderma, is where the body causes excessive collagen buildup. So you'll have thickening of the skin. It was predominantly, for me, it was my forearms and hands, right? Some in my face, a little bit in my torso. So it's quote unquote, the body's attacking itself. But really what it is, it's just a response to stress. It's a response to heavy metals. It's a response to toxins in the body. But I would say most of that is all precipitated by a stress hormone. Like my adrenals were blown out. My cortisol was upside down, where I couldn't sleep without melatonin or something else to, sometimes take a capful of NyQuil to fall asleep. So I've had to balance all of these systems in my body. And the biggest thing about all this is that I had leaky gut. Now, I had always had a gluten allergy that I was unaware of until I started having medical issues. And then they did some blood work. They said, well, you have like celiac disease. And then I learned from a integrative doctor that your gut is like Swiss cheese. All of your toxins are spilling into your body. This is part of this. So coupled with the stress, coupled with leaky gut, you have this internal explosion, and it's going to manifest itself in this type of diagnosis. So healing the gut, and that's where vitiligo comes from. A lot of people don't know that. Like vitiligo is a result of leaky gut. And like doctors will try to give you laser treatments and creams and other dumb shit, but it's all about healing from the inside. So in order to heal leaky gut, that means gluten is off the table forever, dairy off the table forever, or at least till your body can tolerate it. It takes years to heal from this. At least that's been my experience. And it's a lot of leafy vegetables, grass-fed, pasture-raised meats that are in non-GMO. The amount of chemicals that are in our food supply is astonishing, right? So we're talking about leaky gut and gluten, and the thing with gluten and wheat, up until like the 1970s, wheat was fine. We can tolerate it. But it's when the farmers wanted to have a bigger yield of their crop, they started genetically modifying the plant so they can have a stalk like a little tree to hold heavier buds. So when they go to harvest it, they have these bigger buds that are supported by these little short trees versus a 6 or 7 foot tall plant. So these chemicals that are used that come from like Bayer, Monsanto, other companies to grow a modified or genetically modified corn, genetically modified wheat, are not looked at or tested or scrutinized by the Food and Drug Administration, right? So that goes back to these 3-letter agencies that are responsible for our food supply being poisoned, right? So once I learned about poison in our food, what it takes to heal the gut, reducing stress, that's all been part of my awakening, and it's all part of healing. And it's like most people walk around in the United States of America clueless as to why they're sick. I'm just sick, so I'm going to go to the doctor, and they're going to put me on this medication, or I got to go on dialysis. It goes back to, and especially in the inner city neighborhoods, it all goes back to stress. You know what I mean? It's like the stress of just the survival of the fittest, or the stress of not being able to pay a bill. How am I going to put gas in the car? How am I going to put food on the table for my kids? That's all stressful shit, man. And that's what's causing a lot of people to get sick,
That is correct, my friend. I made a stress management course with 6
right.
7 hours of all that stuff. That's why the Qigong and the breath work, I totally promote. So how did you heal your body nutritionally?
Nutritionally, and I'm not I can be doing a lot better. Well, healing the gut was really using some supplements, like I do a shot of glutamine with apple cider vinegar a couple days a week. It's staying away from gluten. It's staying away from dairy. It's staying away from anything that permeates the gut lining. It's staying away from anything and everything that cause inflammation in the body. So a lot of the foods that you see in the supermarket cause inflammation. If it's not a vegetable, right, or if it's not something that's a meat that comes from a clean source, there's something in it that will cause inflammation. Now, anything that's on a shelf in a box in a plastic wrapper, in most cases, 8 out of 10 times is inflammatory. You know, the chemicals and the preservatives that are used to be able to keep something on a grocery store shelf for an extended amount of time are tremendously dangerous to the human body. Tremendously dangerous. And see, we are very resilient as human beings, you know, and we
robust.
It can take years. We are robust, but it can take years to get sick. Like I was in an ayahuasca journey at Rhythmia, right? And Mama Aya told me, she took me to school on the whole idea about illness. She's like, sugar is deadly, but since we vibrate at such a low and slow frequency, it can take decades for it to make you sick, right? At a different frequency, a teaspoon of sugar should probably make you vomit instantly, right? But since we're vibrating so slow, it takes a lot of time for the illness to manifest itself in our bodies, right? So that's why kids can get away with eating anything, but you know, when someone gets into their 30s, 40s, and 50s, they can either be really sick or not. But then that goes, well, how is this person sick and this person isn't? Then it goes back to the level of stress. You know what I mean? It's like, why do people that are in Europe smoking cigarettes that are 90 years old and eat whatever they want? Well, first of all, their food supply isn't poisoned. Second of all, if they choose to smoke, most of those cigarettes aren't doused in chemicals that are in additives that are addictive and that are cancer causing, to go circle back so we can get the medical, to get pharmaceuticals and doctors more paid. You know what I mean? It's this whole existence and situation, especially in our country, is rigged to keep us sick, stressed, unhealthy, in lack of better terms, you know, once they've exhausted all the money they can out of us, then we're dead. You know, then it precipitates, it moves on to the next generation. We don't need to live away.
Which brings me to my next question. Okay.
Right on.
So, all right, here we are. We're here. So what are our next moves, my brother? How do you see everything rolling out? What's your vision?
What's my vision personally, or what do I see happening for all of us?
Yeah. Anything,
oh, wow.
Anything and all above.
My vision is to create content that heals and awakens people. I want to tell stories that can show the best in everyone in spite of their circumstances, right? And I'm a writer, producer. That's my personal vision. You know, my personal vision is to live abundantly. It's to recover my health 100% and be able to show others how to do the same. Mm-hmm. I believe a vision for us as human beings, especially the United States of America, is that we are going to be free of debt. We're going to be free of disease, and we're going to be free of hatred, you know, towards each other. I believe those are realities that we're going to see within the next 36 months to a large degree, where it's going to be tremendously shocking when these
neutrinos from the sun,
neutrinos from the sun, the sound and ultraviolet light healing that can dissolve cancer tumors and, you know, regrowth of limbs, all that shit's about to come. The stuff we see in the sci-fi movies is real. They get this they just don't make this stuff up. They just haven't given it to us because they feel, and they is a very sinister, small percentage, very, very small, minuscule percentage of our population don't think that we deserve it. So the vision for us is to be healthy, healed. I don't believe there's going to be a FDA, an IRS, a CIA, a FEMA. I think all that shit's going to be gone. You know, we're not going to be, check this out, Troy. Like this phone I'm on, right? iPhone 7. has been around for a few years. Now, in the 1950s, something with the same computing power could probably fill half of this 1,100 square foot apartment I'm sitting in, right? Now we can put it in our pocket. We can do cool shit like talk to each other on video, right? When I was a kid, there was a cartoon called The Jetsons, like Space Age, right? The combustion engine that moves pistons and needs a spark from a spark plug that powers the vehicles we drive in, right? That's been around since the 1800s, if not before. How is it that I have a computer in my pocket where I can do amazing things, but we're still putting gasoline in cars? That does not make any sense, right?
Well, unless you're a Rockefeller banker.
Exactly. Thank you. Unless you're a Rockefeller banker. So my point is that we're going to be the free energy technologies to where something as big as your cell phone can power an entire zip code. You know, something as big as a marble will be able to power your car with no gasoline.
Marble.
You know,
yeah.
that.
All right. I'll take the marble. I like the marble. I was thinking a little bit more of a square box, but okay.
Of something like this.
Something like this.
Or something like this.
Yeah, there you go.
So yeah, but that's all. That's the vision. That's what I see as our vision for the world, for humans.
Sweet, man. I love that, man. I'm signing up for that vision right there.
I'm excited about it.
And I love the 36 months, man. Dude, you're the elite thinker of the world, man. Most people, they're like, fuck, talking all sorts of negative stuff that we hear in the news. So 36 months, I like that. All right, I support that. I'll roll with that.
If our sitting president is reelected, what's going to happen in 2021 and 2022 will shock everyone.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. I think miracles are on their way.
Yes. Yeah. And so it's going to be beautiful, and I'm excited about it. And I believe that all of us have to have that positivity and that forward thinking about the best in order for it to happen. Like, it's not by accident that we're doing mass meditations. It's not by accident, you know, even though I think BLM is a bunch of BS, that it's actually waking people up, and it's taking off. It's removing their veil and learning how to be more respectful and sensitive to others. You know, so there's good in everything that happens. There's a yin or yang with everything.
Everything is a catalyst, and all roads lead to the Great Awakening. It's a catalyst one way or another.
Exactly. I have people saying it's breaking up. So Troy, it's been a blast, brother. I appreciate you. I love you. Look, I'll shoot you a text around 4:00.
Okay.
To come grab the book and all that, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, man. God bless you, man. Thanks so much for coming on.
Will this be saved on your page so I can share it out?
I'm gonna do my best to download it and save it. It'll be on my page, and then I'm gonna try and upload it to YouTube. You were by far one of the best, most coherent voices. Well, you had so much history. You have so much solutions. You really see the bigger picture from the food all the way up and all the way back to Chicago. I mean, this is going to be gold, man. I look forward to getting it up on YouTube.
Yeah, we should plan to do it again. I can bring a crew out and, with mics and big old movie cameras and make it real. Just give me a shout. We can do it.
Baby, let's do it. I'll come back from the
brother.
Canyon. We'll do it.
All right. Awesome. I look forward to that, man. Talk soon.
Okay. Awesome. All right, everybody. My man Darius, Mr. Awake, here on Instagram. Mr. Wide Awake. Darius, enlightening the souls of the peepholes. Now it's just you and me, guys. Yeah, he was great, man. And I've interviewed some powerful people. Wait till you see the one I did with Malik Yoba today. Real soul brother, just you could tell he's got that man of the earth thing, and he's living in it. He's in Brooklyn right now. He's a New Yorker through and through. And the Elliot Hulse interview is up now. All the interviews are on my IGTV that I did with Nedick and Andrew Eckert, the Native American teacher as well. So Troy, your filter's on point. I love that. Yeah, baby. So what kind of questions you psycho chickens got? Let's see what's going down here. Okay. Getting a lot different energy from you today, Troy. I was there for Skateboard Live. Yeah. Hey, dude, I do all sorts of, I'm the sum total of the all, just like you. So I have different energy at different times. And I may bomb the garage today. In fact, I have to bomb the garage today because I'm going to travel a little bit. And I won't be bombing the garage if I'm traveling. Okay. So, and I probably won't bring my skateboard just because, yeah. Thoughts on how we can organize and assemble to create synergy to support this awakening. So that's a very good question, the lucidity code. Thoughts on how we can organize and assemble. Well, we're organizing and assembling right here. And just share your views of how the Peace on Earth rollout will happen in your vision from your heart. You know, like what do you truly want in the world? Ultimately, I postulate that we all want peace. And so if we want peace, then we got to find peace in our hearts first. And then, you know, what is the world that you envision from that state of peace? I think we're almost there on many aspects, but remember, we live in the West and we live in the United States of America. So we're definitely ahead of the game than most. So, and if you look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, psychological principle, the ones that have their needs met are the only ones that can think forward spiritually and advance. Most people are just trying to survive. So it's up to us, guys. It's up to us. We can even have these conversations. It's up to us as leaders to change. And you're a leader by default if you are one step ahead of someone going up a mountain, right? So if you're one step ahead, you can just, you know, lend an arm for people. That's what my crystal ball says. Do you guys all have a crystal ball? This is rose quartz. This is rose quartz. I like that filter too. Filter's great. Okay. So just arriving to the spiritual, was trapped with the physical for a long time. I understand that. And all roads lead ultimately to the spiritual. Get the most work done. Go start with the spiritual. Should some of us start drinking our pee, Troy? Why not? Thanks. You know, I made a video about that. I don't like pushing the pee because it's too weirdo for most people. So I talk about it sometimes, and I'm not pushing it, man. Research it yourself. I drink it. I've been doing it. I've had many